you're watching the Citizen Jane Film Festival panel discussions that are happening right before the festival. The festival kicks off tonight if you're watching live. You could still go to Ragtag. Our box office is how you get tickets. Tonight we have our opening night film, Say My Name, at Windsor Auditorium at Stevens, and tomorrow we start our screenings at Ragtag. And we have two of the filmmakers who come in a little early to talk about their films. My name is Carrie Yost, and I'm part of Citizen Jane. I also teach film here at Stevens College, and this is Jessica Orrick. She's here with a film called Beetle Queen Conquers Tokyo. I like that, yes, title. And Georgina Lightning, who's here with a film called Older Than America, which is screening on Sunday, that we've actually arranged a conversation to happen afterwards. I mean, we're talking afterwards with all of our filmmakers. And I actually, before we start, people probably don't know exactly what your films are about, so maybe you could both talk about what your film's about.
Okay, mine is a full-length feature film. It's dramatic suspense. Older Than America, what it means, what Older Than America is who we were before boarding school happened to us. So before the genocide that was a continuation after the Indian Wars, our songs, our dances, our ceremonies, everybody, you know, who we were as Native Americans before Kill the Indian, Save the Man happened. So that's the title, and what we do, it's a contemporary story. We follow a woman's journey. She thinks she's slipping like her mom because her mom was institutionalized in the 60s for paranoid schizophrenia, because she claims she knew where 6 kids were buried in an unmarked grave at the boarding school she attended as a child. And the priest and minister didn't, or the mayor, pardon me, and the priest didn't want this kind of attention for the town, so they threw her in a mental facility and gave her tons of electric shock therapy. And so her daughter, Rain, who we follow her journey, she believes it's her fate to end up in a mental facility because it's hereditary. So she's a prisoner of that reality. She doesn't get married, she doesn't have children or anything until the story unfolds, which you're going to come on Sunday and check out the storyline.
Very good. Teaser.
Well, mine doesn't have that tension that makes you want to see it.
You can check out the trailer. Go on www.olderthanamerica.com and check out the trailer, and then that should get you in the seat on Sunday.
Yeah. It's a really great website, actually, that has lots of information.
We have an amazing cast. We have top-notch actors. I mean, this is my directing debut, and I was just one of the luckiest women in the world. I got an amazing producer with an awesome crew and top-notch actors. So it's pretty cool. Lucky.
Jessica?
My film is called Vito Queen Conquers Tokyo. Title's ironic. It's actually a documentary about the Japanese cultural enthusiasm for insects. It's not a Godzilla movie. It's a feature, so it's 90 minutes, and it's the Japanese really love insects a lot. You can buy them in department stores and grocery stores and vending machines. They travel across the country to watch fireflies emerge at dusk or listen to a particular type of cricket sing, and they travel the world catching butterflies and dragonflies for their collections, and it's just a really big sort of cultural phenomenon there. So the film sets out to sort of uncover why that is so, why they're the only first world country that likes bugs. So
that's suspense.
Yeah, because then I'm like, well, why do you like bugs?
Why don't we like bugs like that?
Yeah, the idea, it's sort of to challenge Western indoctrination.
Well, in this panel, I should have explained, is called First Works, and so the main reason is that it's their first feature-length film, although you both have experience otherwise, and it's really interesting, both of your backgrounds, because Georgina, you have acting and all sorts of other things. It seems like you're also in charge of producing films. Do you want to speak about that? And then one of the reasons we did First Works, as far as this film festival, it's sometimes really hard to produce, a feature-length film is challenging. So how you kind of got over that hump. There's many, many reasons to quit making your film.
Yeah.
It's just a series of, I teach film here, and they'll come to me and be like, well, I had a problem with this, and what do I do? And it's like, well, you solve that problem. That's sort of what filmmaking is. It's just a series of challenges and obstacles, and and you're really happy and lucky if your creative vision in the beginning is how it ends up when you have to make some adjustments along the way. So I thought that that's one of the things we could talk about, making that. You said it's your directorial debut,
yeah.
Georgina. And so how was that different to switch gears a bit and work on this film?
Well, I got into the film industry and I moved to LA in 1990, and I went there as a student. I was in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I did 3 years, and I played some of the most amazing roles. Brecht, Shakespeare, Sam Shepard, I mean, really awesome roles. And where there was like 367 of us the first year, you have to get accepted back to the second year and the third year. So it's not like any other film program where you get to go for 3 or 4 years locked in. So that was the stressful part. But I got accepted to the second year, which was like 62 of us, and then the third year was 15 of us. So it really weeds out everybody, and you just get to play with people who just love the craft. And that was amazing. And then I got into the film world after that, and it was very heartbreaking because there's not a lot of roles, first of all, for women. Minority women, even less. And they're really pathetic. Well, they were back then. We're starting to grow up in that area, but not quite. So after years of being in that and also a singer in a band, and I raised my kids in the industry. I have 3 kids. They're all actors as well. I just, you know, you take a look back and you go, there's not enough there. It just wasn't satisfying me anymore, you know. So I started a film production company and started producing movies, because then you can take stories that you love and you get to take them through the process, and, you know, you're part of the creative process, and, you know, you get to say what you want, basically, in a story. So that was awesome. And then as for directing, I kind of slipped into that. Well, I got talked into that. I've coached a lot of actors in the years that I've been in acting, because I coached my kids, and then I started getting hired to coach actors, and then hired on sets, you know, by producers and directors to coach their actors, the lead actors mostly, and just on the set all the time. And that's when, you know, you don't realize what you know. So I'm telling everybody, you put yourself to a test, because I doubted myself at first. People were like, why aren't you directing your next film? No way. Because I had never gone to a film class before. I don't know about the lenses. I don't know about the lighting packages and all that stuff. So I knew one day I wanted to, maybe one day when I grow up I'll direct, but right now I'll just stick to producing, you know, supporting scripts in that way. But then the producer, Christine Walker, she's an award-winning producer, and she's really been a big support in my entire career as an actor and as a filmmaker. We were actually looking at, we were interviewing directors, and at one point we take a break, this guy just leaves and just left. She goes in to make us some tea, and she comes screaming out. She goes, we don't have to interview any more directors. I'm like, why? Thinking she liked the guy that just left, and there's no way. And she goes, no, we don't have to do that, because you're going to direct the next film. You're going to direct this feature. And I was
so
like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to do that. She goes, yeah, you are. And then so she talked to me for a bit, and I had to take a couple weeks to think about it, process it. So then I came back with, you know what? Okay, I'm going to try it, but we're going to have to get somebody to play Rain. And she said, no way, because she's seen me before work as a producer and an actor, and she said, I want you to take that challenge. So, you know, it took me a while, and yeah, many nights of thought and processing and everything, and I jumped in it, and I'm so glad that she talked me into that, because it was a challenge like no challenge I've ever taken, and you don't know what you know until you're tested on it. You know, I had actually seen directors have conversations with the lighting people, with the grips, with wardrobe and the designers and actors. I've seen that a million times, and you don't realize that I was in the best film school in the world, being on the set and right in front of these top-notch directors and producers and watching them interact with their crew. So, and then the crew that Christine put together for me was amazing. And I was very, you know, in interviewing them, I was very honest with them. This is my first time. I'm insecure about this, and, you know, please help me in any way that you can. I welcome all of your knowledge, and I'm grateful for you to be here, you know. And after every shot, I was jumping up in the air, thanking everybody all the time. I was continuously grateful. And to this day, I'm very grateful. What we have on the screen is a collaboration. It's not like You know, it says a Georgina Lightning film, but it's the crew. Everybody is important and valuable, and I am very grateful for everyone that made a contribution. What we see on the screen is the result of that teamwork. It's treat everybody like they're a member of the family, and it works really well.
Well, that's so interesting to me that somebody said to you you're going to direct it.
Yeah.
I guess I just assumed it seemed like a personal type of story, that this came from you, and it was like, I have to direct this. But
no.
thank goodness she did. I mean, you know, and that's actually one of the reasons we started this film festival is I feel like a lot of women would be, you know, in the film industry or more prominently or would have another position if there was people mentoring and cheerleading them
And
along. Supporting. And so that's
Yeah.
actually one of the reasons we ask you to come in person and come early and
Yeah.
just to hear other people's films and ideas and at least inspire you to make your next film perhaps, because
Right.
it is challenging and there's a lot of work and then there's work to get it out there, and
Yeah.
then you kind of forget about, like, for me, the fun part of actually shooting it and stuff, you know.
Right.
It's fun to be reminded that that's
Yeah.
maybe why you got.
And then also Christine just made it a point that she says, and I don't ever want you to make any producerial decisions. You don't have to carry any of that stuff. I just want you to be creative. Just be in that moment of creativity at all times. And that was like, wow. I mean, it was
Yeah.
crazy. A couple times I almost caught myself. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about that. Forget it. Go talk to Christine. And she totally took on the entire thing on her own. And that is also why we have what we have on the screen. We've won 18 awards so far, and I always think it's like that's a gift it's acknowledgement to my crew, to the people that were there and worked hours and hours and hours, and all of our crew members and actors, they took major pay cuts to be a part of this production, and so. That's another thing. I mean, you know, it would have cost us way more had everybody come and demanded their quote, but they just came on board and they bent over backwards to be so supportive of you know, because of the subject matter and just because of the energy that we promoted from the beginning, you know, the spirit and energy behind the film, and it just carried on right up, and, you know, we're still getting invitations like from this festival, which is an awesome festival that supports women, and that's so great. This is the first, and I've been to 52, this will be 53 screenings now. And this is the first of its kind where they're supporting and embracing women, female filmmakers.
I think one of the reasons is it stems out of Stevens College, where we are right now. This is a collaboration between Columbia Access Television, these screenings right now, and Stevens College. And, you know, we're actually, there's only a handful of women's colleges that even have filmmaking programs. So it's kind of, you know, it's depressing to,
Yeah,
to teach film to young women and then be like, and there's so few of you now when you're done.
Yeah.
So it's very, I mean, obviously when you see somebody doing what you love, it's inspiring and motivating, and you know, kind of like your producer sort of said to you. So that's kind of what you're doing for a lot of people this weekend. I have to say, I don't think there could be two more different films. You know, it's like there was supposed to be a panel, and literally it's hysterical because, I mean, which is great to talk about because it's really an interesting education experience on how films are different. You know, the issues you're talking about, I can't imagine being any issue for the Vito Queen, you know?
It was exactly opposite.
But it's also challenging to do documentaries. There's not a large crew. There's, you know, it's kind of really a different dilemma. You don't have, it's not about communication issues as much, or it's not even about, you know, coaching actors and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and especially even your style of documentary filmmaking is much more experimental art. Anyway, your background's very interesting. I'll let you explain it.
Well, I knew that I always wanted to direct films about ethnobiology, so nature films, the way that humans interact with the natural world. So I knew right away that that's what I wanted to do since I was like 14. And so as soon as I graduated from school, I was like, okay, I've got this project, I'm going to do it. I had a tiny crew. My boyfriend was my cameraman. My best friend was my translator. And
Is he still your boyfriend?
he is still my boyfriend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good communication with the crew.
Yeah.
Well, it was tough, but we actually do work well together. But yeah, so it was. I mean, it was probably exactly opposite of your experience, where I was doing everything on my own. You know, the translator was my producer, but it would be like, okay, this is what we need to do today, and she'd be like, all right, I'll translate these emails. So it was. I mean, it was a ton of work, but it was it was definitely, especially with the cameraman, he was a real, like, the way that we worked together was really great. I really just sort of let him loose, and he does his own thing. And every once in a while, I'd be like, Sean, let's get this shot right here. And he'd be like, no, I'm not getting that shot. He'd be like, no. And he's like, no, I'm going to get this one over here. I promise you'll use it. It's going to be way better. And he'd get both shots, but inevitably I used the one that he set up on his own. So that was definitely highly collaborative there. Yeah, but in terms of my background, I mean, I guess I work as a live animal keeper at the Natural History Museum, and I studied biology in school. So that I really have been working to align myself in this very particular field.
And so when do you work on it? After your job with live animals?
Yeah.
You go, I mean, how do you balance that?
The museum's really great about letting me take time off, and then when I'm there, I work extra hours. But since we have a large rotation because we have weird hours, so we have a lot of people working at once. So they're really great about letting me take time off. But yeah, it was definitely, I feel pretty stretched thin right now, and I'm starting my next project, and I just can't seem to keep it all together.
Yeah, because there's overlap. You're still,
Yeah, I wish someone had warned me that finishing the film was the easy part, because getting it out there is so much harder than I expected.
It's half the film, kind of, isn't it? Yeah. So where did you get the idea for your film, though?
Well, I have always loved bugs since I was really, really little, which doesn't make me unpopular, it just makes me unusual. So the idea, when I found out that there was an entire culture that liked bugs as much as I did, that was pretty thrilling. And I was teacher assisting in a course in the museum, and this Japanese woman came in and talked about how kids in Japan love bugs. And I thought, I gotta make a film about this. So I went, started doing research and stuff, and there was nothing in English about it. And so I sort of set it aside. That night I was sad, and I was like, okay, well, that'll be something for the future. And then just 2 days later, my sister randomly met this guy at an airport who was totally bicultural, grew up one semester in Tokyo, one semester in New York his entire life. So he knew both cultures really well, and he was an entomologist and was touring the United States, giving talks about the difference between the U.S. perception and the Japanese perception of insects. So my sister put us in touch, and I called him that very night, and I was like, I want to make a film about this. And he was like, cool, we'll stay at my parents' house. And it didn't turn out to be all that easy. He was there for the first 2 weeks with us and introduced us to a bunch of characters in the film. And that was great. I mean, it was like the stars had aligned for this project for me. It turned out to be so personal. The Japanese part of it and the bug part of it, and it was really, it was pretty magical. So, very different.
Well, thinking of it being first works, I'm sure there are many challenges, but what was the hardest part of making your film? I mean, even just from logistical, practical things, or something completely unexpected? And also, what advice would you give to other people who would want to go into your field?
For me, my biggest obstacle was myself. My own demons that I have, that I deal with every day. Lack of belief in myself, just my programming in my upbringing, basically just fighting that constantly and believing in yourself and just keep moving forward and having faith that it's all going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. Just let that go. Because, I got in my own way a few times, So that can take you for a dip, but then you just have to kick your butt and get yourself going again. Move forward, and have faith. And then, that was probably my biggest obstacle is myself. Other than that, I had an awesome support system. So, running out of money kind of sucked, and that that took a minute to fix. But and then dealing with the distribution aspect. As an independent film company, this economy was hard on every filmmaker on the film industry, period, because three major independent film distribution companies went bankrupt, and then everybody else is freaking out. They didn't want to put money behind independent films, so we had no place to push our film to. So IFC Channel, they came to our world premiere at South by Southwest, and our very first screening, as soon as it was over, came rushing to us and wanted to purchase the film. And me, being a first-time director, And the package that they were presenting to us, it was with really well-known directors. So I was really flattered, but I was like, well, nobody knows me. Like, who's going to watch a Georgina Lightning film? Because they don't know who I am. Like, I really need to go out there, and I need to know what I've got here, and I need to know what the market is so that I have the confidence to sit down at a table with the sharks, because they're sharks. So I toured extensively, and I really checked out my audiences. I got to know them. I interacted with them. I got tons of emails after screenings, and people would word of mouth, and I'm getting like calls from and emails from people I weren't even at the screening asking for it. And so then I learned who our market was and who our audience was and what they expect and what they, you know, what they want basically. And I then had the confidence to sit down at a table. We flew out to New York and had meetings with people and some of the distribution companies and sided with IFC. They held our hand and watched us through the entire process, and they were still very eager. So, and I really respect that channel. I love the films that they select. So I'm really excited that it's with IFC. They're going to do a 90-day pay on demand. We signed the deal 3 Mondays ago. And we just got the paperwork 2 days ago. So that's at the lawyer's office. It's going back and forth. That ugly stuff is going to happen. But then everything will be settled. And they're really gracious in the way that they really want to exploit every avenue and every idea possible for this film. So they're open to, I mean, where the mold is like this, they're willing to expand and push the envelope.
I mean, I
so
have friends
that's
who've
really
worked
cool.
with them, and it's just amazing how much input they'll take from.
Yeah, and it's like,
some
what ideas do you have? Okay,
don't really
fine.
take input
Let's
at that
jump
point.
on
It's
that
like, we're going to
too.
figure out how to get this film out. You know.
Yeah, they're so cool like that. Really.
Well, they do
good
understand
people.
independent filmmaking, and you both live in that world, really. And actually, I don't know if our audience understands this, but it's really hard to get distribution, period. I mean, if you even imagine all the films that premiere at South by Southwest or Sundance or whatever, you know, maybe 5% of them will go on to
If
be,
that.
if that.
It's
it would
really
be remarkable.
scary
So
and
it's, I think
discouraging.
sometimes it's misleading. There's many films out there, but it's just a really tough nut to crack, and the economy has been a real challenge. It takes risks. Even how we describe independent film now is really different. Quite often the budget's much bigger than it's ever been, and it's not made independently almost at all. And so it's really hard to fandangle distribution and to reach, obviously, what's clearly an audience that you've seen proven in screenings. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma I think most filmmakers face now.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their
And not just the economy crashed, but also the film industry. They're reinventing the wheel because with the viral way that films are like, Amazon is the #1 place for sales right now. The top sales are on Amazon. So it's a completely different beast that we're dealing with. Blockbuster is, sorry, but Blockbuster is heading out the door. You know, we won't even hear about Blockbuster in the next, you know, decade to come.
When you say Blockbuster, do you mean the company that rents movies, or you mean
Yeah, the rental company.
Blockbuster?
Blockbuster store where you rent movies. I mean, if you go there, you'll see, you're lucky if you see 1 or 2 people. Redbox is hot. It's a buck a shot for a
Redbox
film.
and Netflix
You know what I mean? Netflix comes right to your door.
iTunes.
All of these ways of getting films now or downloading, you know, that's the new way. So they're reinventing the wheel at the same time when the economy crashed. And that's right when our film was like ready to go out the door. So it's like, okay. So yeah, it allowed me that 1 year of complete touring all over the place and having special screenings and doing all this stuff, which was, you know what, it's a blessing in disguise what happened, you know, because I really got to figure it out and, yeah, get excited about it. So that was the cool thing, and, you know, I got to learn a lot because that's where I was completely ignorant in that area. So I got to really learn a lot because of the filmmakers that you meet at film festivals, and you get to talk about different companies, and then you can make phone calls. Okay, so First Look offered us this and this, and I heard that you got picked up by First Look. So tell me what your relationship was and what happened and all that stuff. And you know, you get to have a support system within the film festivals with other filmmakers
I think
that
film
are
festivals
doing the
are
same thing
incredibly
you're doing.
educational, especially
They're
if you're sort of
awesome.
like making films, then you're figuring out what you even do with it later.
Exactly.
It's a natural way to have those conversations.
Yeah.
What
It's a
was
really
your
good
greatest challenge, Jessica?
Definitely just getting the film out there. I mean, I was all on my own throughout the whole process. I didn't have a producer or anybody who had ever done this before. So it was like even just applying to festivals. I mean, it's like, well, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of festivals. How do I even know like whether it's worth applying to this one or and you pay, you know, you have to pay fees and you're writing these emails being like, I'm really poor, can I get away without paying the fee? And you get these stock responses and you get people that are excited about your film, but there's no way to, yeah, it was really hard. And then just trying to figure out distribution and all that stuff. It's, yeah, it's really challenging. It's really overwhelming.
All of it's challenging.
Yeah, the film was the easy part. It was
Well, you end up
part's
in this
awesome.
business world where you
Yeah,
have to learn
and I'm
really quickly.
not
And I mean, there's a reason they have entertainment lawyers. And I mean,
Yeah.
then you get into, it's not like when you distribute your film, there's one deal that covers everything. You know, there's different regions around the world, and there's, you know,
All
there's
the
DVD,
territories
and there's
and,
TV,
yeah.
and there's theatrical, and it's
Non-theatrical
very, very
extras.
complex, and it's really
It's intimidating. It's
daunting.
crazy.
Yeah. I kind of feel like not very many people truly know everything in that world.
Yeah.
I mean, how could they, other than
Right.
perhaps lawyers, but how could they know
Did
everything
you say
about
liars?
Whoops, Freudian slip. No, lawyers. I love
Yeah.
really good, cheap, or willing to donate their time entertainment lawyers, which is who I've used with other projects, because you at times just have to check something out, and luckily there's a few people who just want to see your work get out there,
Yeah.
but they don't have the knowledge of film world typically. I mean, so it's really tough.
And
to
it's ever
find.
changing, so.
And it's a completely dynamic, yeah,
Yeah.
it's constantly changing. And I don't actually think most distribution companies know how to handle the new internet viral. I mean, everybody's trying to figure that out, and everyone's really scared to take a few steps, and you know,
Exactly.
who knows. So congratulations, that's great to
Thanks.
hear. Yeah, one of the reasons when we set this festival up, just so you know, we were like, how can we make it easier for filmmakers? Well, you know, I mean, we could just show them that we're excited and make the page as easy as possible, because it is enough, and there's hundreds out there. And, you know, we're new, so we don't have this identity that everybody knows right now. So it's interesting. Do you have any questions? If not, I'll keep asking questions. Yes.
Mike.
Thank you. I was wondering, you were talking about film distributors. I was wondering if there are any film distributors that maybe are solely focused on female made films. No.
I mean, women make movies, maybe, but they don't always function as a distributor. I mean, they do a lot of things, so it's not their.
Maybe that would be something that one of us could become a major
I mean,
film
Women Make
distributor.
Movies has been around
Sure.
for decades now. And they typically acquire films, you know, but they also have a production assistance program. I've actually done that, and it's really great, and it's really helpful, and it's kind of giving you advice throughout that process, and just connecting you. I lived at a distance, so I think if I'd lived in New York, I could have learned a lot through that process, but you know, for me, I was living in Missouri, and it was like every so often when I couldn't find the answer, I could call somebody there. And I know that there's a few that have like chicken and egg to help production, but there aren't many because they also struggle for funding. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, it's hard to find the funding source to support women to make the movies. And funding is, I think, every filmmaker's dilemma regardless.
Yeah, everybody's dilemma, but also, I mean, I'm Native American, I'm a minority, and we are the lowest represented in the media, period. You know, we've got the least amount of actors that actually get screen time. We've got the least amount of production or crew people. I mean, when we go to crew up, that's why we have an intern program. We have, Tribal Alliance has a Native Media Network program, so we bring in interns onto our films. And the agreement with the crew is you need to take a couple Native Americans under your wing. And if you could teach them what they need to know, because you have to have a certain amount of hours to get into the unions in order to get union jobs. And we have no Native Americans in any of the 13 unions. Not one. So, you know, and then I served on all those diversity boards in Hollywood. So the, you know, Fox, NBC, ABC, they all have diversity boards, and I was on the American Indians in Film board, where you know, it's diversity, whatever that means. You sit there and they have actor showcases, they have directing showcases, and they have writing programs. And then after 10 years of dealing with that stuff, I actually went around to the different people, Carmen Smith, or just the people that head these diversity departments. And Christine was with me, actually, and I started with ABC, and because ABC won the ribbon for the first place for diversity. So I went there and I said, okay, so can you tell me, after 10 years of dealing with this diversity stuff, you've had acting workshops for Native Americans. How many Native Americans were offered a role last pilot season? 0. Okay, so out of all the writing programs, and you got to remember, ABC is Buena Vista Pictures, Disney. It's a huge, huge corporation, okay? So out of all of these writing workshops, how many Native Americans have even been guest directors on any one, even one episode of any of the shows or TV, programs, anything? 0. Okay, how many writers have been spec writers or anything on any of the programs? 0. So it's 0 across the board, so I went, I can't do this anymore. It's not productive, it's just lip service, and I'm going to be honest, it's bullshit. It's just existing so that people aren't sitting there complaining about, how come you don't have diversity? I want to see diversity on my television screen. We, as Native Americans, I want my kids to see role models up there. We had one Native American on Law and Order, Adam Beach. He was signed to a 3-year deal, but after the first year, Dick Wolf Productions didn't renew his contract, so he was on there for 1 season. West Studi, after Adam was gone, then we had nobody on the screen again. Last year, West Studi was on this TV series called Kings. It only aired for part of the season, and then they pulled it. So we still don't have any Native Americans on the screen that our kids can tune into to watch as doctors, lawyers, anything. The neighbor, the garbage man, anything, nothing. So, we've got a long ways to go yet. So and there was a 4-page article on Georgina Lightning in Cowboys and Indians, which is a beautiful glossy magazine. And they said in there that I'm the first Native American woman to direct a full-length feature film. And that's pathetic. I know that there's a lot of Native American women who have written scripts. Why aren't there funding? Why isn't there, more films out there? That's ridiculous, And there's no way that Hollywood ever would have financed my film. If I didn't have this amazing partner named Audrey Martinez, who started Tribal Alliance Productions with me in 2002, if I didn't have her and get support from my community, this film never would have been made. And this is a part of American history. If you guys come and check it out on Sunday, you will see that this is an American history film. It's very much, a part of its reality. The whole Holocaust of Native America, the genocide of Native America that happened. General Pratt was like, kill the Indian, save the man. That's what this film is about, But it's not a documentary, it's narrative. I took a serious subject matter based on true events, and I built a compelling story around it. Christine jumped on board, and we wrote a script together. She manufactured a story out of all of these ideas that I had and characters, brilliantly put everything in a package, and then we shot this film, and it was supported by women and Indigenous women. It never would have been supported by men or Hollywood.
The statistics for women in film are really awful. Like, that's
No,
why we have
if
this
you
film
look at the
festival,
unit,
right?
Look
But
at
then
the
if
Directors
you-
Guild. I think it's only
Oh, it's awful.
14%
And
women,
just
and
the,
most of those are
oops.
documentary filmmakers, not
Well,
narrative.
yeah, there is far
It's a
more
very
women
small
represented
category we're
in
in.
documentary and experimental film than there are Native, or especially Native American filmmaking, but narrative Native
Yeah.
American filmmaking for sure. And I was actually just on the ASC's website just to see like how many cinematographers actually have gotten into the ASC. Women, I mean, their boards, there's none, and then now I think we have 5. I think we used to have 6 and somebody died. I mean, it's, yeah, and that brings our statistics, drastically down. There's hundreds of cinematographers in the SC, something to keep in mind. And when they let the first woman in, they had to add a women's bathroom to their building. That's how accessible it was to women.
That's
so, I mean, I'm
ridiculous.
just saying that because that's women in general, and I think then when you get into minority issues, it's just even more appalling. And then God forbid, you're a minority woman who wants to make films about anything and not be labeled that all the time, it's just really, you become the face for all Native American thoughts. And so it's a really complicated issue, I think. And certainly we like it to change. That's our small part here is what we're doing it for. But we certainly would like it to be easier to do. How did you get your film funded then, Jessica? If that's the hard part.
Well, that wasn't the hard
That
part.
wasn't?
Actually, no. Just the part following it. The funding for mine was actually, it was very lucky. I graduated a year early from university, and I wrote a full grant proposal to my parents asking them for the tuition money that I had saved them by graduating early. And after going over it a few times with me, they weren't pleased with the first proposal, but after going through it a few times, they agreed to fund the production of the film, which was really great.
Yeah, that's really clever
and
on
since
your
it
part,
was-
but that's also amazingly supportive on their part.
Yeah, well,
that's great. Are they executive producers then on your film?
They didn't want that credit. They thought that would make it seem not as cool. So it just as this film would not have been possible without the support of. But yeah, but my sister's going to med school, so they're like, well, we're putting in money for her med school, and you graduated a year early. Okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
It was really nice of them.
We have to have support in some way or another. So we only have a few minutes left, actually. Is there one last question?
What is your next project you're working on?
What's your next project is the question.
Well, I am looking for funding for that one because my parents aren't going to fund that money.
Okay. Any rich Colombians out there, now's your chance to call Jessica. We'll get you her number.
It's actually about mushroom hunting in Eastern Europe.
Ooh.
About
I used to live in Eastern Europe.
Oh,
I used
really?
to love to mushroom hunt.
it's a big
and
deal
I have
there.
lots of friends who
Oh, good.
work in that area.
We got to talk
We
after.
can talk afterwards. They're poor, but they have access to
Yeah,
great
that's
things.
good.
Yeah. That is a fascinating, again, like, and I came back home and it's like, let's go mushroom hunting.
It doesn't happen here.
Well, what do you mean, to the grocery store?
But yeah, well, it's sort of more used, like Vito Queen Conquers Tokyo, it uses that sort of as a launching pad to talk about greater issues, specifically the role of the forest in war-torn countries. The way that in our imagination, in fairy tales, in childhood, the forest is this deep, dark, scary place with Baba Yaga and witches and gnomes and mushrooms and, big bad wolves. But then when a country's at war, when there's, political unrest and social upheaval, and people are starving and people are, and there's violence in the streets, the forest becomes this safe haven. In World War II, there were hundreds of communities that survived in the forests of Eastern Europe, eating mushrooms and fruits and berries and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's sort
That's
of
fascinating.
mapping that shift in perspective. I don't know. It's
We gotta
still in
find
its
that.
early
We
stages.
gotta find a way to get that funded then. Georgina, what's your next project?
It all depends on money.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We're wrapping it up now. It all depends on money.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
all
Well,
money.
we're not actually fundraising right now as a pledge drive formally, but it is the
If you
monkey
got deep
wrench in every
pockets, call
filmmaker's
us.
dilemma. And if you see them this weekend and you've got big pockets, please introduce yourself. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we hope you'll join us at the festival and see their films. Thank you.